One tribe, a reminder of a place once lived, where real equality and community existed, free from judgment, free from the system of fear and control, a place where connection can lead to possibilities, and a space where creativity has no restrictions, a path through the unknown, not knowing where one's going to end up, but having the faith of knowing things are going to work out. A realization that the ocean is a thread that connects all the lands and all the tribes of people. A feeling of being connected to something greater than one's own singular life. A greater realization that no man is an island. Instead, a critical piece that makes up this collective consciousness. A part of time where the past, present and future coexist. A place of magic where thoughts become things. A greater understanding that by living in harmony with nature, one gains a healthy mind, body and spirit. A universal space where energy, frequency and vibration merge into one. And a great knowing that together as one, we can make a difference. Welcome to One Tribe.
Obviously, love is at the core of our spiritual compass, so to speak, and I love my family, I love my partner, I love the things that I do. I love having a passion for creative things, and that sort of becomes your compass. If you add this honesty and integrity into that, you can ask yourself the hard questions of how it is going to affect other people. You know, there's no doubt my actions have affected those close to me, and particularly those that I've been in a relationship with. And I make some pretty hard, callous decisions to follow my creative passion, almost at the expense sometimes. It's actually caused the end of relationships and things like that. Now, that's neither good nor bad, it's just life. You make these decisions, and if everything's working out, you can go on journeys together, and that doesn't always happen. But you know, I have to ask myself, all the travel I do, it does affect the environment. So I feel compelled to sort of put an awareness back about other parts of the environment. Everything you do in life has an effect, small or large, on either someone near us, on ourselves, and the environment. So I believe that basically there's an internal mechanism that guides us to know what is right and wrong. And if the sum total of all our decisions have erred to the side of right, I think we've been a pretty good person. Now, it's impossible to be, you know, perfect. There's no such thing. Even the people we most admire are still human, they're frail, they'll make mistakes, you know, whether it's a Dalai Lama or someone like that. I think that human aspect is what keeps things real, and the journey's about learning from life and its experiences. And, you know, I'm constantly striving to make myself a better photographer, and hopefully I'm constantly striving to make myself a better person. I know now, even in interviews, I'm very aware I would never say anything that would offend someone, because before it might have been funny, and now it does. It has a knock-on effect, and you see it in social media today. Kids can be, you know, unrestrained in their almost bullying or joking or whatever, and then it just gets blown up into this, it snowballs effectively, and so the knock-on effect can be much more apparent now than it ever has. So it's really hard explaining to someone, oh, well, you shouldn't say that on social media, or you shouldn't do that. It's a very good example of how that can affect people really quickly in a much more profound way than it was even intended, or it might have been a joke. Little right-hander. Great bend back at the second. Been a long time. Wow, really pretty. Probably some of the most pristine beaches anywhere I've ever been, so fantastic. Beautiful little left-hander off the point here. Nice little angle for shooting into. Little right breaking towards us. Water's a little bit fresher than up in Queensland, but keeps the numbers down. Little left. Obviously the area is producing some pretty good surfers at the moment. Had the good fortune to travel with Nikki Van Dyke, and she's a phenomenal surfer, local Phillip Island girl. And I think she's been quite inspirational to a lot of the other kids in the area to go, you know, anything's possible if you dare to dream it, you know. To be so successful on the women's tour, I've had a few trips with Nikki. Not only is she a great person, but her surfing is unbelievable. And, you know, I've actually got a photo in a book of Nikki, and she's just blowing the top off a wave that is like severe as sort of hack as you would see anyone do, you know, in Mexico. So the world has become a lot smaller in this sort of connective tissue almost of relationships and experiences that you have from when you're growing up. Young kids, it's not about seeing yourself as an exceptional, you know, AAA student in a particular field. For me, it was like once I determined that that's what I wanted to do, nothing was going to stop me do it. I sold my house to fund my trips overseas, whatever it took to come back and work and earn enough money for the next trip, that's what I would do. If it was an accountant or someone advising me, it was probably the worst financial decisions you could make, you know. They were all against the grain of what I was advised. But what I was doing was living these experiences that I would never have the opportunity to live again. And it's a pretty simple philosophy I base my life on. It's like, literally we come into this world with nothing and we go out of it with experiences. That's the only thing we take with us. We don't get to take the block of land, we don't get to take the big building, we don't get to take the Mercedes, we don't, you know, they're all material things. So I think the Aboriginals have a really good understanding of life in a lot of ways. The more experiences you have, and that can be any experience, it's like family, love, emotion, experiences that we have to work on all these levels to have good experiences. They don't just happen. So if you want to be like an AFL footballer, despite someone saying you've got talent, that doesn't really mean anything. You've then got to choose that path and work hard at it, and then not let anyone tell you anything else. And I think that's the secret to getting somewhere in your life. And we're all going to achieve our own things at different levels. So you don't have to be the richest person in the world. You don't have to be the greatest athlete or photographer or artist, or, you know, it's what you are for yourself is what's important. Sandy Ryan from the islands, probably one of Australia's most underrated surfers ever, I would say. Is so core, just turns up, paddles on toe swell days when everyone else is towing, he just goes home, no one even knows, you know, he just does it. This boat was anchored in the keyhole, which is normally a safe place, but obviously it loosened its anchor and just drifted into the lineup, and it was like, oh my God. No one was on the boat and no one got hurt by it. And the boat ended up all right. The guy towed it up on the beach after that and it was fine apparently. Good boat builders up in the ass. Carl Wright from the island. Definitely black holes that day. It was just scary. I'm in a little dinghy with a couple other guys going, oh my God, what's happening? I seen him at Fiji and he was a standout. He just charges like a madman and very understated. He's like such a cool character. Very much like a Sandy Ryan. I think it's almost like the island breeds these understated guys that are really amazing surfers.
I would like to think that when my life has been lived, that people would think of me as someone who would be willing to help others, maybe. In saying that, my surfing has been so selfish, as in changing plans to go and catch a plane to another country, which people find that hard to comprehend or relate to. But yeah, just somebody that had good intentions, cared for others. Yeah, if you can make a difference in one person's life for the better, then it's better than zero. So our club is actually one of the longest running clubs in the country. It wasn't one of the earliest, but some have since ceased or maybe stopped for some time, and we're very lucky. We have our own clubhouse. We have all this history, and it felt like the time was right for the next generation to come and sort of take over. The club was a little bit stagnant at the time. We had the young crew and the older members, but there was just that disconnect between 16 to 35-year-olds. So yeah, just actually somebody else said they were going to do the role that I've ended up doing, and so I tried to rally the troops around him, and then he pulled out and I was left standing there. So it was a little bit by chance, but yeah, it's worked out well so far. It depends on the month, because in winter the surfing community is quite minuscule. It can be difficult to find anybody to go surfing with, but summertime is, yeah, it's a very good time where a lot of people are around, coming home for Christmas or whatnot. And yeah, the Phillip Island Board Riders Club is part of that. Obviously not everyone who's in our surfing community is part of the Board Riders Club, but I feel like it's part of where we live and what we do, so yeah, I enjoy it. Just trying to make it a little bit more fun orientated than the standard elimination competition. Last year we were super lucky. We had 48 open surfers come back in the club, but it almost became too strong, whereas some guys would find it difficult just to make it out of a heat. So yeah, and just want to involve the whole club. Today we had 11-year-olds, we had 68, maybe 70-year-old competing, so it's just fun, get everyone there at the beach at one time and just hang out. It was good. My dad always said, if you got any issues, just look in the mirror and see the person staring back at you. And I guess it's easy to see other people's lives and what they're doing, but sometimes we don't take enough time to come back to ourselves and yeah, just analyze the things that we're doing. And yeah, I think it's very beneficial. However, I think we live in an age where over-critiquing ourselves is way too big of an issue. It's leading to greater issues, mental health and the type. Yeah, just self-reflect, but don't beat yourself down, because nobody's perfect and we all have our flaws. We probably all have traits that people like within ourselves that we don't even pick up on. So I think, yeah, just reflecting but not being too hard on ourselves.
Just having a look at your book.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, it should be a good night. Got a few photos there to show you. So looking forward to catching up with a few old faces.
Yeah, hopefully there'll be a few crew here who can tell a few stories about it.
Not too many.
Who do you know? Like, you know, Millowl and those guys?
Yeah, Millowl from years ago.
In my early years of photography, Phillip Island was integral to that development. Like I said, I came up photographing the previous generations, and now to see around the world, I'm running into people around the world who are the sons and daughters of those generations that I first started to photograph. So it's almost like this full circle of connection, you know, to be in places like Fiji and you see someone take off on like one of the biggest waves of the day and go on the other boat, I'm going, who's that? And they go, oh, that's Carl Wright. I'm like, hang on, this is from Phillip Island. And then, you know, Sandy Ryan, I'd go down to Shipsterns and Sandy there, and he's got this peer group respect of he's a surfer's surfer. and Carl is very much the same. They're no big fanfare. They just turn up and surf like the hardest core surfers ever, and then go home. They're not there for a photo. They're not there for, you know, any personal adulation. They just do it. So really fantastic to have that connection.